Hey, what's up?
Hey, all right.
Oh,
Are we ready? Okay. Introductions. I'm Josh Holtz, and today we're talking about code signing and specifically having fun with code signing. So my day job, I am not an iOS developer during my day job. I work at RevenueCat. I'm on our growth team, which does like charts, customer list, all that kind of stuff. So I'm mainly a Python developer by day. I do some new features in our SDKs. So I've been a Kotlin developer this week, which I super love. But today we're at an iOS meetup. So that's my day job. My not day job, I'm the lead maintainer of Fastlane. I've been lead maintainer, thank you, since 2018, core contributor since 2015, which is a long time. So why code signing? Fastlane kind of is responsible for that. A lot of our issues that have come in over the years have not been our fault, but are code signing questions, and I need to learn how to help people solve them with our tools. So I got pretty familiar with code signing. We got a bunch of issues back in the day, and I'm like, I need a full month of just learning code signing. So I went hardcore into it. That was a long time ago, so I don't remember all the details, but today we're going to talk about a little bit more on the beginner side of code signing. So we're going to get started by unchecking the manage signing button. Do a lot of people use this right now? Lots of, not like it's a good fallback on, but it's nice, but it's a little bit too magical sometimes. But before we get into more of what this managed code signing does, like what is code signing? When I first gave this talk back at 360 iDev, I actually Googled this because I didn't know how to explain it. And I still don't really know how to explain it. But it's a digital mark on code and executables. Assures user software is from a known source and confirms code is not altered. It's super boring sounding. I want to find a good way to explain like what it was or show what it was. And like an envelope kind of actually, yeah, right. It's kind of neat. You have your seal, which means it was never opened. And then you have your little stamp, so it's a known sender. That's code signing, but in a much more fun form. So going into Apple's code signing process, it's one of the easiest things that Apple has. We first start off with installing your Apple Worldwide Developer Relations Certificate. Then you create a certificate request, upload request, create certificate, download, install certificate keychain, create provisioning profile with certificate, configure signing in Xcode, build project in code sign, export and sign, upload to App Store, probably get rejected for something. Apple re-signs it with their cert for App Store, and then it gets verified on the Mac. I can send you a screenshot of this. I can send you a screenshot. So it is actually not the easiest process. And without the automatic button that is there, like you kind of had to know all of this. Now it's there, you're kind of rely on it, but there's some still times where you might need to know how to actually manually code sign. So we're going to go through this today. We're going to talk about the first step really quickly. This is the boring part, not fun part. And that is, I think we go next. Oh, and then the next part is the fun part where we actually go into Xcode and configure, build settings, and all that kind of neat stuff. So I'm sorry you had to see that sad face because it's unchecked. We're going to go through a lot, but it's fun. So it'll be okay. Part one, these certificates and profiles. We're just going to fly through this. A lot of people have probably done this. If you haven't, reach out to me and I'll help. But you go on the website, create certificate, create your request, download the certificate, create provisioning profile with your app for your certificate, and then you download it, see in your keychain, and we're 8 steps in. What is this one? Oh yeah, this one. I think I created it for the wrong distribution cert that first time, so I had to make sure I did the right time. This is not the fun part, but this is kind of the steps you go through to actually create the parts to actually code sign. Provisioning profile, check, certificate, check, we got it. Now we're getting to the fun part. Configure signing in Xcode, build the project, and export it. So we got this, but as soon as you uncheck it, you see this error. Kind of hard to see on this screen with the red. But here is an example Xcode project that I have. It's an iOS app and a Mac OS app. My iOS app is signing fine. My Mac one is just yelling at me. No profile. I can't read on that one. No profile for team matching. Not RSS found, and then a bunch of words there. It's scary looking. It's not really intuitive on how you should go solve this. Google the error message. It's still not intuitive in the answers. So then but you might also get this error. Then there's another one where no signing certificate is found, and then you get another one that is no provisioning profile has app ID that doesn't match, and there's another one. This one is provisioning profile doesn't include this the correct cert. So it's spooky. There's a lot of errors. It's not part of app development that is fun to do necessarily. It doesn't really get you anywhere. Like it's not what we live for unless you're me. So now you're really sad. You're like, why did I uncheck this? It's just airing out everywhere. I just want to build this. The checkbox solved all my issues. But here is where we're going to learn. So when it comes down to signing, you have a team ID. You belong to some app store team or multiple. In this case, my team ID is Josh Holtz. This is my account. And then I create an app. So we have two nice parts now: team ID, my application ID. And here comes the cert type. So the cert type can be distribution, which works for iOS and Mac OS, and I guess Vision OS now, maybe, and Watch OS. It works. No, I don't even know. It works for a bunch of them. It does. It works for a bunch of them. And then provisioning profile is the fourth part. And these are a lot of parts that have to work together in order to sign successfully.
Does cert a single type, or can you cert that applies for multiple types?
So there's a distribution certificate, which is it's called distribution, but then there's also an iOS distribution cert and a Mac OS distribution cert, and then also a Mac OS developer ID distribution cert. So the iOS cert only works for iOS. Mac OS only works for Mac OS on App Store. The Mac OS developer ID only works for signing for apps outside of App Store. But when the shared, what's it called? When you could combine your apps together. Also Catalyst, but not Universal Apps. That's when the distribution cert was created. And that one can be used to sign all platforms. Good question.
On my team, I just do what I'm doing, so I don't actually know any of this stuff.
I think
Perfect.
I think Catalyst signs under iOS system. It's another Mac cert.
It had its own no, it had its own profile at one point, but I think it is iOS. It's been some time since I've done Catalyst, but I should go look. So we have these four parts that come to signing, but like, how do they relate to each other? So I have a theory technique system. I don't know what the word is, but when I was going through this, I wanted like some nice way to think about how all these relate and how I can solve these issues that I saw. So you belong to a developer ID. You have an application ID that is attached to a team. So app ID is attached to the team. The certificate is attached to the team, and you have your profile. You get your profile that's attached to the app, and then you have your profiles attached to the cert. So this whole thing is really just a puzzle. You think of it as a puzzle, and it kind of makes it easier when you're trying to solve and connect the things together. So you can see there. Oh, I wanted to go back. I think I wasn't ready. Back. No. Okay. So that was in iOS profile attached to my distribution cert. Here. So I'm gonna pull it out now. The same piece here works for my App Store, my ad hoc profile, my App Store profile, and my Mac OS App Store profile, because all of these different provisioning profiles work under the distribution cert. So they just fit in nicely there. But if I have an iOS distribution cert, the puzzle piece changes slightly. So the previous one, the hole was in the middle. This hole is now down a little bit. So my previous piece wouldn't work. So now I got to make a new profile. This is an iOS App Store profile, but with my iOS distribution cert. And now that fits in there. So my iOS App Store profile and my iOS ad hoc both fit into this cert. If I have a Mac OS cert, this piece is a little bit different. This hole is up on top. This only works with my Mac OS one. So, and then you have your Mac developer one. So there's a lot of different cert types, but you got to find the profile, the provisioning profile that fits in there. So what my Mac looks like then, it's not this nice puzzle piece. It's like what my 3-year-old dumps on the floor. It is just certs, profiles everywhere. And like, that's where these errors come from, is you have so many different certs to choose from, so many different profiles that you're just, if you don't know what you're doing, you're just kind of trying to fit like this piece with this piece, but those pieces clearly don't go together. So puzzle system, we're going to go through with its puzzle and how to kind of relate it to the Xcode screens now. Those are the 4 different errors that we're going to hit, but understanding the errors, part 1. So this error is the no signing certificate. No signing certificate, we have our team ID, which is team ID. We have our application ID, which is right below it. And then we have our version profile. But we don't have a signing certificate. That's none. So we're just missing that piece. This is one of the easier errors, I think, because it is pretty clear. No signing certificate. So we just got to get that piece, plop it in there, and it'd be fine. So that it's because that piece isn't on my Mac somehow. It's probably out there because there's a profile that exists for it, but it's just not on my Mac in my keychain or something like that. So same thing for the Mac one. So that was the iOS and the Mac, both are missing the certificate there. This error is the provisioning profile has mismatching app ID. So this one, we have a team ID. I have my application ID, which belongs to my team. I have my distribution cert, but in this case, my iOS one is fine. This issue is with my Mac one. The Mac team ID, app ID, it has the cert, but here, my provisioning profile has the incorrect ID. And this is because I need my Mac Catalyst ID here, but my profile is not that one. So this puzzle is not working, which is why Xcode is like, should fix this. Error 3, something similar here. This is provisioning profile doesn't include signing cert. So we have our team ID, which is fine. I think my iOS example here is going to work. So we're just going to skip that. For our Mac one, the team ID is fine. We have our application ID of Mac Catalyst, which is what we want. Our cert type is distribution. But here there's a wall there. The provisioning profile is for a different cert type. So we have a distribution cert type, but this profile is for a Mac distribution cert. So you can have for these errors, is there a 4th one? There's not a 4th one. So you can either have a missing piece completely or like a mismatch between your profile and app, your profile and your cert, or both.
Or 4th would be the device you're trying to build to that isn't in your provisioning profile.
That's true.
Yes. Distribution of it.
Yeah, distribution.
True. Yeah, and you could also have an issue, which I didn't show, where if you belong to multiple teams, then that team piece is also messed up. So in these examples, I only belong to one team, but if you're a contractor and you belong to 10 teams, you have a disaster of a keychain. So you can configure these in your app general, or no, the hiding tab. Build settings is where I prefer to go to them because it's a little bit more powerful. You can see everything. So you have your development teams down there. You have your app identifier section, your certificate type section, and your provisioning profile section. These relate to the puzzle pieces. So the team ID piece, the application ID piece, the cert piece, and the provisioning profile piece. And in this case, my puzzle piece can change depending on the configuration that I'm using. So I have a debug, release, and release developer ID configuration. So I got to make sure that all my puzzle pieces for those configurations match the other ones. Okay, that was a boring screen. I should fix that one. So in a Catalyst app, I deleted this slide. That slide should not be there. Okay, that slide should not be there. Tips, tricks, and fun facts. Experiment with this. So you might not need manual signing, but if you're on your own and you want some fun, just uncheck it, but uncheck it for release. I think it's easier. I personally keep it checked for development because I really don't care. If it works in development, great. I'm not usually doing anything specific. Releases are usually where I want to use the certs and stuff that I know about. So experiment with it for just release. It's easier to solve one problem versus two. And just practice with that. And automatic signing doesn't work on both CIs, which is why you would maybe want to use this on release. So automatic signing requires you to be signed into Xcode. So if you're on Circle CI or whatever CI provider you use, you're most likely want to use this form.
Fastlane.
Hmm?
Or Fastlane.
Fastlane. This is not a Fastlane talk. That's a whole other like eight mini series. Yes, it does. I don't think I actually touched that in this talk. But prune certs. This is one of my favorite things to do. I've actually accidentally deleted my keychain multiple times, which is bad. But it's sometimes you can run into issues when you have multiple certs, expired certs. Xcode's not the smartest when it comes to finding certs. So go in there, delete certs that are expired, delete certs that you don't use anymore. But maybe just back up your keychain just in case. I think I said all that. But yeah, be careful. I've deleted it. Sometimes you have to sign executables. This one got me one time. I had an executable in my Mac app, and I had to do the signing through the Xcode build settings, but I also had to call code sign manually in a run script, which is a thing you can do. It works the same way, but something you just have to do manually. And then revoking distribution certs. It's totally fine, generally, fine in quotes probably, for an App Store account. It's not going to mess anything with your apps on the App Store because Apple resigns when you upload with their cert. This will only end up messing with ad hoc ones.
I got
App Store account. Won't affect anything on App Store. Enterprise, there it is. Enterprise. This one's more dangerous. It will generally affect all apps, possibly, unless you're revoking a cert that's not being used by any apps that are out there. So just generally don't do it. Sometimes just restart your computer. There's been times where I've had issues with things looked correct. I closed Xcode, restarted my computer, and signing just worked. So sometimes you just got to restart your computer. But that's the end of the talk. You can enable the checkbox again. You at least know now how it works, and use it when you want. And then also deep dish with Chicago, Illinois, May 5th, May 7th.